I'm Jill Newbronner. Tonight on News 5. History made in Hong Kong. Carrie Lam becomes the city's first female chief executive in an election.
My priority will be to heal the divide.
But protesters are not buying it, calling the election a sham. They also denounced Beijing's interference.
The worst news was today in Hong Kong.
Less wait time for Indonesians who want to apply for a passport. The Indonesian embassy introduces a new online service for passport application. Our top story, Hong Kong has elected a new leader. Former government official Carrie Lam, Mrs. Lam is now the city's first female chief executive. The election comes after the 2014 umbrella movement when massive protests were held for months.
It was a win that came as no surprise. Carrie Lam, Hong Kong's former chief secretary, has been chosen to become the city's next chief executive. Though widely seen as Beijing's favorite candidate, Mrs. Lam says she wants to unify Hong Kong.
Hong Kong, our home, is suffering from quite a serious divisiveness and has accumulated a lot of frustrations. My priority will be to heal the divide and to ease the frustrations and to unite our society to move forward.
She also promised to uphold the one country, two systems principle, something protesters are not buying. Hundreds of them gathered outside the voting center, calling the election a sham. Pro-democracy groups had also denounced China's interference.
The Beijing government has a final say on who is going to be appointed by the Beijing government. That is the reason why I think I should cast a blank vote, because as long as it is a very close system as election, then you should not add legitimacy to the system.
This is the worst scheme for us. The worst news was today in Hong Kong. Carrie Lam openly admitted in the very beginning of her election scheme that she will continue with the current system. Now, what we can expect from in Hong Kong is continuing this nightmare for another 5 years.
Mrs. Lam was chosen by a 1,200-person election committee stacked with pro-establishment supporters. She won 777 votes, compared with 365 for her closest rival, John Tsang, who was seen as the people's choice. Third candidate, retired Judge Wu Kuo-king, had garnered 21 votes.
Fellow citizens, words cannot tell how touched I have been by every handshake, every selfie and photo opportunity, every conversation, every quiet word and loud chant of encouragement, and every card, letter, and Facebook message that you gave me. You have been the single large force that has helped me maintain my optimism in this campaign. In fact, you have made me a better person in the process.
But it seems yet again the question of Beijing's influence could not be avoided.
Do you think Beijing affected the race at all?
I have no reason to believe that.
Why not?
I just don't have any evidence in that. Do you?
It's not just the political divide that Mrs. Lam has inherited from her successor, Leung Cheng-hing. She also has other immediate problems on hand, from skyrocketing housing costs to a widening income inequality.
So my first priority is let's tackle the easier things to try to demonstrate that we could unify people of different stances and opinions, and then we can move forward. And this is exactly what I describe as the favorable environment and conditions conducive to restarting the process of political reform.
But time is not on Mrs. Lam's side. Activists have now vowed to organize a massive civil disobedience at her swearing-in on July 1st, which Chinese President Xi Jinping is expected to attend.
Mrs. Lam will be Hong Kong's fourth chief executive, but now that she won the top job, what will the next couple of years be like? We speak to an expert on this.
The number of votes she got shows that she was unable to get any support from the pan-democratic camp. So it's likely that in the first 1-2 years of her administration, she might increase social welfare payouts just to pacify the so-called lower classes in Hong Kong. But regarding the pan-democratic legislators, politicians, intellectuals, academics, and so forth, I think she faces a tall order in convincing them that she will indeed have Hong Kong's interests at heart, and that even though she has to report to two bosses, one is Beijing, one is the people of Hong Kong, she will still try her very best to push the interests of Hong Kong, particularly in regard to political liberalization. That means universal suffrage elections.
North Korea has threatened a preemptive strike against South Korea and the US. The threat comes amid the joint military exercises of the two allies. It was read out on state media.
우리를 노린 특수작전과 선제 타격에 투입된 미국과 대대들의 작전수단들과 병력이 남조선과 그 주변에 그대로 전개되어 있는 한 임의의 시각에 사전 경고 없이 우리 군대의 선멸적 타격이 가해지게 된다는 것을 명심해야 할 것이다.
South Korea and US troops began large-scale joint military exercises at the beginning of this month. Called Fall Eagle, the drill is conducted annually to test defense readiness against threats from North Korea. But Pyongyang has protested against it. It calls the drill a rehearsal for war. They say the exercises are aimed at its leader, Kim Jong-un. The military exercise is expected to continue to the end of next month. It involves more than 300,000 people. Here's a quick look at other stories also making the news today. Chinese authorities have reportedly blocked an Australian-based academic from boarding his flight home. Feng Chongyi, an Australian permanent resident, entered China 3 weeks ago, but he was stopped twice this week from boarding his flight when he tried to return to Sydney. Sources said he had been repeatedly interrogated over his links to liberal intellectuals in mainland China. An election in the German state of Saarland is being closely watched ahead of Germany's general election in September. It's the first of 3 regional votes and is seen as an early test for Chancellor Angela Merkel and her Social Democratic Party rival Martin Schulz. Now, the Social Democrats have long played second fiddle to Ms. Merkel's Christian Democrats in the coalition, but have since been re-energized since Mr. Schulz became their new leader this month. Polls will close in less than an hour. Coming up on News 5.
I got my money in me.
Why swimming poster boy Joseph Schooling says he can no longer rest on his laurels. Stay with me.
Only Mitsubishi Electric Star makes a car that saves you energy and money, is easy to clean, and isn't the quietest.
Back to News 5. Indonesians in Singapore will now find it easier to apply for new passports and send money back to their relatives who do not have bank accounts. These new services were launched today at a concert event celebrating 50 years of bilateral ties between the two countries. In a move to cut down on the waiting time to get new passports, the Indonesian embassy in Singapore has introduced a new service allowing Indonesians to apply for passports online.
Every day we have around 500 to 600 people coming, be it doing the contract for working permits, application for passport, application for visa. They can go online and when they go online, they got to choose by themselves when they are going to come to the embassy.
Indonesians in Singapore will also be able to remit money using their mobile phones to relatives back home who do not have bank accounts. It's estimated that some 70% of the Indonesian population do not have bank accounts. The mobile remittance service is a joint collaboration between Singtel and Telkomsel, allowing customers to transmit money in real time to 4,500 cash-out points across the country via an app. After registering for an account, customers can top up their Singtel Dash accounts, select a beneficiary, and enter the remittance amount. According to the embassy, about 200,000 Indonesians live and work in Singapore, with remittances back home totaling around $570 million annually.
It will provide a new way of remit the money, and it's more convenient, more cost-effective, and then also on the more general treatment is helping the government to push toward the digital economy, toward the financial inclusion, and also toward the less cash society.
And many of these foreign workers may not have bank accounts back home in their respective home markets, and for them to send money home is actually previously quite a cumbersome method, right? Because they need to transfer money into somebody else's bank account and then withdraw, and the process may take a long time. But with Dash Remittance, we have actually simplified it and make it a lot more convenient and secure for them.
The two telcos plan to expand their mobile money services in the second half of this year. To mark the launch of the new service, remittance fees will be waived till the end of this month. French President François Hollande is in Singapore for a two-day state visit. This is the first state visit by a French president to Singapore, and it reciprocates President Tony Tan Keng Yam's state visit to France back in 2015. Earlier today, an official welcome ceremony was held for President Hollande at the Istana. At the state banquet, Dr. Tan spoke about how both countries enjoy strong bilateral ties and deep economic cooperation. He added that Singapore's relationship with France in defense, security and culture has also strengthened in recent years.
At a time when the global political and economic environment is uncertain, many governments are facing pressures to turn inwards. Against this backdrop, being able to work with reliable friends is more important than ever. France is such a friend of Singapore. Our strategic partnership is a compact of shared values which represent our common vision of a world embracing openness, multilateralism, globalization, and the rule of law.
Now, how can communities improve how they help the less fortunate among them? Well, collaboration and better coordination will be key, says Social and Family Development Minister Tan Chuan Jin, who noted that this should be the focus in the long term.
If you're at Toa Payoh Market, you may notice some stalls with this colourful sign, a signal to needy residents with coupons like these that they can redeem one free meal per day from them. It's all part of a new hot meals program organised by the Toa Payoh East Novena Division. With about $2,000 per month from sponsors, some 30 families are benefiting from the new initiative. 8 food stalls are also on board.
联络所的人来问我要参加吗？我说可以咯。他们买给老人，我也是算他便宜的，所以一样嘛。
And this isn't the only community initiative here at the Toa Payoh East Novena Division. In fact, another program which aims to help children whose families are going through unexpected situations of distress is also underway. Now, this could include examples like if the breadwinner of the family has lost their job or if there's a sudden death in the family. About $50,000 has been donated for the program. Under it, about 16 children currently receive about $150 per month for their daily expenses. There's also a support network of residents who can connect with the families through a chat group.
It's a quick action aid, so it's actually to help them over 2 to 6 months at the most before agencies come in full ahead to help them in a more sustained manner. So we're not taking over some of the agencies' work, but it's just to help them in a short period of time where they feel the pain. and they feel distressed.
Speaking after a visit to the division, Social and Family Development Minister Tan Chuan-jin said he was encouraged to see the numerous initiatives which see residents helping their fellow neighbours. However, while this should be encouraged, he pointed out overlaps may occur at times.
There are groups that sometimes operate on their own. So that's something, again, we want to encourage. But as we begin to stabilize in what we do, can we look for partners? So what I'm looking at is not additional head count, not additional head resources, but actually coming together to talk. Because we could be actually working in the same space, doing the same thing. Then could we coordinate a bit better?
Mr. Tan noted the government also has a part to play, for example through its social service offices or by providing support through sharing information and training.
Still to come on 5, more libraries are slated to open this year. And our reporter finds out why it's no longer just a place to borrow books. Details ahead. Welcome back, and it's time for sport. It was an unusual turn of events for Singapore swimmers at the US Collegiate Championships. Pa Chung-wen, who's now studying in the US, stole the show, coming in second in the 200-yard butterfly. But Joseph Schooling failed to make a splash as he did not qualify for the finals in the event.
It was pretty rough at first, just getting used to the number of kicks and strokes. It's just really fast-paced, a lot of underwater work. Which I like, so it was pretty fun. I liked it.
Then I've taken 3 months off or 4 months off and seen what it's done to my swimming. I think the party's over. The good feeling from the Olympics only lasts for so long. Now it's time. No one cares what we did a couple months ago. It's all about what we do now. And I got my butt handed to me in this meet, and I think that's a huge eye opener. So I can't rest my laurels anymore.
You got to realize he had all his lifetime goals answered in one race. He wanted to win a medal in the Olympics, that was a goal. He wanted to beat Michael Phelps. He wanted to win an Olympic gold medal. All happened in the same race.
It was not a complete letdown for Joseph Schooling. Despite being unwell, he wrapped up the meet with a stellar performance in the final leg of the 400-yard freestyle relay. His team eventually won the overall trophy. From the use of data analytics to possibly even virtual reality in the future, public libraries in Singapore are undergoing a transformation in a bid to remain relevant in an increasingly digital world. But what could our libraries of the future be like? Well, our reporter finds out.
Stories, news, and the world at their fingertips. Just over a week old, the new Sengkang Public Library is home to more than 125,000 books, digital content, and customized spaces for different age groups. It's also where 53-year-old Namala Kumar works. She has been a librarian for more than 15 years. Ms. Namala's job has also changed considerably over the years.
When I joined in NLP, day starts with manual returning of return books. We need to take each and every book, then we need to check and sort in the sorter, then we have to stack in the compartments, then we have to put it in the trolley, then shelf back. It is quite tiring and tedious job.
But Ms. Namala's load has been lightened recently, all thanks to this machine. Known as the auto sorter, the system scans and separates returned books into different bins before they're shelved. About 3,000 books are sorted every day. This frees her up to do other tasks like curating books and planning programs at the library. Sengkang Public Library is the first of 4 new libraries opening this year, and they're also what some may call next generation libraries. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, I'm told that the library is now no longer just a place where you read and borrow books, but also increasingly a place where the community can come together and learn together as well. But rewind to the library's early beginnings, and you'll realize change has been a constant. From the opening of the National Library at Stamford Road in 1960, to the rolling out of mobile libraries and other permanent branches, libraries have constantly adapted to meet society's evolving needs.
For many, many years, right? Close to 100 years, there was only one sort of library in Singapore. And then the need was felt that as more people became literate, the demand for going to libraries, because most people couldn't afford to buy the books. So the idea of decentralizing and having branches for library became a place. And very soon, I think the political leaders decided that the library was in fact a very good place to try and build a nation. Now I think that we feel that our nation is in fact quite built, even though it's still evolving. The thinking again is, what is the library now going to be used for?
According to the National Library Board, there were 2.3 million members in 2015, up from 1.95 million in 2005 and about 500,000 in 1995. But a study on adult reading habits last year found that while 69% of respondents said they read at least one book in the past year, only 19% read more than once a week. Most also did not find reading as stimulating as audiovisual content, and just over half read books borrowed from libraries.
For me personally, I don't visit libraries anymore because it's just a personal preference for me to purchase books from bookstores like Kinokuniya. Most of the stuff that we can read actually is online. There are many e-books as well, so like there's not really a need for a physical library anymore.
That's why a revamp of existing libraries is underway, in the hope of getting more to use the space.
We want the library to remain relevant to Singaporeans and even to stay ahead by anticipating their needs. So we do this by engaging feedback from them, from the community when we design the libraries.
Technology is indeed one key aspect public libraries are looking into. For instance, NLB hopes to improve its mobile app, which already allows users to borrow books. It also intends to promote its e-books more aggressively and has started displaying real-time data in some libraries of popular titles that are being borrowed. The new Bukit Panjang Public Library will also feature an immersive storytelling area with lights, sound effects and interactive visual projections for children.
And while it may seem like public libraries here are embarking on a new chapter in its development, most I've spoken to agree that they continue to have a place in our tiny island. Though how they remain relevant or evolve in the future will be up to Singaporeans to decide.
I do hope you enjoyed our last News 5 here at Caldecott Broadcast Centre. Do join us again tomorrow for an all-new News 5 coming to you from our studio at the new MediaCorp campus. Have a good night.